Hello there.
Hey, I'm Jacob.
And I'm Evan.
All topics presented in this podcast are highly likely to contain spoilers.
We tell you this as a courtesy to you, the listener, so that we may not ruin any movies or shows for you.
Thank you for listening.
This has been your spoiler warning.
Welcome to Star Wars In Depth. We're talking about the first 6 episodes of Star Wars The Clone Wars. Whether or not, all of those will be in this specific episode, we'll figure out. Just kind of depends on how long it takes. But how you doing, Evan?
I'm doing good.
Yeah?
Ready to finally record again.
Yeah, it's been a little bit, hasn't it? When was it that we recorded with Marcel? It was like 2 weeks ago?
I think it was just over 2 weeks ago now, yeah.
Well, actually, could have been even longer. Because the recording didn't reflect when we released it. It must have been.
Oh yeah, it would have been. I guess it would have been 3 or 4 weeks, or almost a month ago now.
Yeah, it was a good while. Good while, but
yeah, we had that Clone Wars movie split up into 2 episodes. So.
Right. Yeah. We've been keeping an eye on the downloads of our podcast, and this is free. This is just crazy. You can see detailed analytics to being able to see where people are listening to you from, and man, it's just crazy being able to upload something and see that somebody literally across the world has listened to it.
Yeah, because I think there was a couple in Australia, was it?
Oh yeah, there was some in Australia.
Some over in Europe.
Yeah, New Zealand. There was one from Japan, only one, but it's scattered out. It's crazy.
Yeah. So the U.S. is doing. I think the U.S. has most of them, but across a lot of states, it's kind of few in number per states. But right now, but it's definitely. I wouldn't say kicking off, but gathering momentum to kick off.
Oh yeah, it's increasing as far as download number at least.
So
that's crazy.
Just to give you guys a heads up, we're at 808 downloads right now across all the episodes.
Yeah.
So for a total of 808, which is. It just blows my mind because we started this, 4 months ago, 5 months ago now?
Yeah, it's 3 or 4 months ago.
Yeah, and so Jake and I were talking, and once we reach 1,000 downloads total over across all the episodes, once we hit 1,000 downloads, we're going to release a special, it's like a blooper reel, I guess. And just to note, that is definitely for 18 and up.
Yeah.
And that's just us being stupid before and after, we record the episodes.
Yeah.
And that is definitely for a mature audience.
I would say, I don't think it was too bad, or whatnot, but it's definitely different than what makes it in a normal episode here.
Absolutely.
It's a bit more mature because, Bud is there, so that should just explain it. Enough.
Yeah, he'll be goes a lot more than these episodes, I have a feeling.
Yeah. Cause
also,
go ahead.
With that, once we hit that 1,000 downloads, again, Jake and I were talking, and I guess depending on you guys, the fans or the listeners, we might do a live recording where one of us will be monitoring a news feed more or less, where you guys could type in comments and questions. We give you shout outs and that type of stuff. So if that's something you guys are interested in, please leave comments and let us know. And if there's enough of you that would like something like that, we'll set it up. We'll get, time and date for you guys. So we can give that a shot. I think that'd be pretty fun. Get you guys involved a little more. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And that's just really, that idea in itself, the live stream and the just giving you guys the bloopers and just kind of the goofy behind the scenes kind of junk that I exclude or that that just takes us forever to start the episode, that period of time.
Please include. I'm sorry, I just have to say, Jacob. Please include when I was going through the order of. All the movies and TV shows, there's some good content.
Yeah, I will definitely try to do that. The main problem with it is going to be trying to find it. 'Cause I usually if it takes too long, I'll just stop the recording and then start a new one. And sometimes I forget to label them different. So it'll be interesting. But the whole purpose of what I'm saying with that is that our live stream and the release of bloopers is a celebration of just this 1,000 download milestone, which is, I mean, I feel like a lot of people would be like, oh, that's tiny, but like really just us just doing this out of fun and starting it, it's crazy to see it. And so we want to just kind of, I don't know, we want to do something to celebrate it. And you guys, we want to build a community with you. And it's just, you know, just a better way, I think, to give you guys something and to allow for some interaction. So, yeah.
Absolutely. So
that's our kind of little announcement that we'd love to do.
Yeah, so I think we should, kick off going into Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the TV show.
Yeah, sounds great.
So we are starting off. We're just going to write in order 1 through 6. So starting off with Episode 1,
right.
Ambush.
Yes, it's titled.
And just kind of a overview real quick. It basically follows Master Yoda on a diplomatic mission that he's going on with a few of his clone troopers. Kind of follows, I guess, their struggle that they run into on that diplomatic mission. So,
so as per usual, I have a list of notes that I just kind of go through, and we'll touch on different things. Some of them I might not actually touch on, Evan, but you can just follow along because I sent them to you.
Yeah.
So, starting off, it's on a remote neutral moon. As you said, Yoda's doing this diplomatic mission. My note is that he wants to build a base in their system.
Yeah, and so for people that didn't catch it, that moon is orbiting the planet of Twidaria. And so that Twidarian king that you see is obviously the leader of their race. So that's who Yoda is trying to get in contact with when their quote-unquote battleship comes into the system and then springs a trap that the Separatists have set.
Yeah.
So,
okay, so Toydarian, that's the race there?
Yeah, that's the race on the planet itself, and they're meeting on the moon.
Okay, yeah. No, I get that. Just last time, Marcel asked the question if Geonosians were Toydarians, and I remember that I had never really heard that, like the Toydarian race, as like kind of I never had heard that said or described. But now that I kind of am drawing that connection, I can kind of see it's like, okay, because they're both bug creatures and like,
Watto from episodes 1 and 2, when we see him, he's Toydarian.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually mentions it in episode 1 when he does the whole, I'm Toydarian, Jedi mind tricks don't work on me, only money.
Oh.
Yeah. I guess just a side note, and you'll see it in, I believe, future episodes. Most Toydarians are not like Watto. It actually says that Toydarians are very big on helping people in need and doing like relief missions and stuff like that. The main population is. So.
Well, that's interesting because stinking Watto is sitting there like Simeon from GTA 5. Ain't he? I mean, kind of.
Yeah.
He doesn't have slaves, but, I mean... but... and that was...
Yeah, so...
Yeah.
Continuing on in the episode, their ship comes under attack, and, the clones on the ship are suggesting to Master Yoda that they should flee the system. They're in no position whatsoever to try and mount a counterattack, and they can't even honestly defend themselves in a ship that small. And, Yoda being Yoda, trusting the Force,
Yeah.
We'll take an escape pod down, launch all the escape pods.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that one of the quotes or something similar. See, I watched this episode probably a couple weeks ago. Actually, no, it was way before the movie, even before we even recorded that. So I'm kind of trying to remember a bit exactly what was going on. And actually,
yeah. So
hold up, Evan. Super quick. I'm gonna mark down the time right now. All right. Anyway. Yeah. So one of the. Oh no, you were about to say what the kind of what exactly was going on in the first episode, because I had watched it a long time ago, before our last episode even, and so.
Yeah. So, all the escape pods get shot out from the ship that Yoda and the clones are in. And you actually have it here in your notes. It was my programming. The droid says it, but he's trying to shoot down all the escape pods. Obviously they don't get the one that Yoda's in. And now that one gets out of range, and the droid goes, well, it's my program.
Yeah. Well, before that, I kind of thought that it was kind of a cool phrase, I guess, because it was like droids outnumber clones, but a single Jedi can take 100 droids.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was a quote or what, but I wrote it. Nah. Yeah. Yeah. And then Yoda. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, so the pod, hits onto the moon, and from there Yoda has his clone lieutenant. I believe the name is Thyre. I'm not 100% on that. Contacts the Twadarian King.
You there? Hey, you there?
Hello? Yeah.
I don't know what just happened, but okay. You want to talk a little bit? You there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Let me just do a little resume marker thing. All right. Sorry, I lost you a little bit. You were saying?
I was just saying, the escape pod that Yoda's in lands on the moon, and from there, Yoda has his clone lieutenant that's with him contact the king. Basically, being like, "Oh, hey, we're here," type of deal.
Oh, yeah. Okay. What was so my next note, and just because again I need a bit of a refresher, and also somebody listening might not remember exactly, but I have the note. Oh, Yoda takes on a challenge. What was that challenge?
Yeah, so Yoda's talking to the Twadarian King, and Asajj Ventress is there, in person with the king. And Ventress is saying, Twidaria should join the Separatists. Yoda's saying, oh no, they should join the Republic. And from there, Ventress suggests a challenge. She says, let me send my best troops to capture Yoda. And if Yoda defeats them, join the Republic. But if my troops capture him, consider an alliance with the Separatists. The Twadarian King's like, I did not call Master Yoda here to challenge to test his skill in battle. And Yoda jumps on the challenge like it was nothing. He's like, "Oh, I'll take on your challenge. I'm not scared of you."
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, when Ventress was introduced, and now, of course, after watching the movie as well as now the first 6 episodes, I recognize who Ventress is. But I do remember her character in that Clone Wars movie that was it was more Legends, but just that 2D animation one I kind of remember. I think she was
yeah, she made an appearance in that one.
Yeah, but anyway, going down, I have this note, and this was just more of an observation. I'm like, all these clones they're clones of one dude, so that's one voice actor, right?
Yeah, that's one voice actor.
That's crazy. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was watching a behind the scenes thing for the TV show, and the voice actor that does all the clone voices, because in some of the later episodes, it's just clones having conversations with other clones. So he's literally in the studio for half an hour to an hour just talking to himself. But I have to say, he does a really good job of giving each clone their individuality.
Yeah.
when he's having, even when they're just talking to each other, or whether they're talking to one of the Jedi, or whoever, he does a really good job at giving them really their own identity. So like when you hear one of them talking, I guess in later episodes, some of the more specified ones, you're like, oh well, that's that clone, or oh, that's that clone.
Yeah, that's takes talent, and that guy definitely is talented.
Yeah.
What was it? Oh, there's a super battle droid firing away. And I don't recall the context. Was Yoda like using the Force on him or something? Either way, he was yelling. He's like, "I'm having a malfunction" as he's like shooting. I think I think he was shooting away at his other droids.
Yeah. Before that though.
Oh.
I'd just like to point out, she's jumped ahead just a little bit, not too far. But Ventress is sending her troops out, and they send that giant ship. One of the clones makes the comment of like, there must be a full battalion in there.
Oh yeah.
Another one makes the comment of they must be packing armor too. And I guess again, in which we've seen in the movie, the Clone Wars movie, and now in Attack of the Clones a little bit. The clones are outnumbered. They don't have number on their side. Yeah. In almost any of the battles that they're in. But yeah, Ventress sends her troops to capture, quote unquote, capture Yoda. Mm-hmm. That first wave she sends are just the normal version 1 battle, the ones we saw in episode 1 and episode 2. Mm-hmm. And obviously Yoda just cuts through them, and the clones take out quite a few of them as well. And then she sends in, I guess technically her heavy troops, which are the super battle droids, and that brings it to that scene you're talking about. And yeah, so like the super battle droids are firing on Yoda's position with him and the clones, and they're behind a rock. I think one or two of the clones pop around, lay down a little bit of covering fire. And Yoda just sits in front of them, crisscross applesauce back from kindergarten.
Oh.
And he just closes his eyes and he starts using the Force, and he starts raising up one of the super battle droids as it's still shooting, and turns it around, and so it starts shooting the other super battle droids.
Yeah, I remember that.
And that's when it does like everybody stop firing, get out of the way, I'm having a mission.
Yep, I remember that now.
Yeah. And I guess that really, I don't know how well that shows how, Yoda's Force abilities, but I mean, to do that to a droid or to even just an object that he can't even see, I would say kind of gives you almost a little bit of a sense of how powerful he is.
Yeah.
But
yeah. The next note that I'll hit on, because just like I said, a lot of them are more when I make notes, it's more directed at me and my my future self, as when looking back, it's kind of like this communication. Like it's just like I make little notes. It's like this and that. Mm-hmm. It's almost like I'm texting. I noticed some of the stuff there, but.
Before you go to the next note that you have, I feel like you just kind of missed an important scene in the pilot episode.
Yeah, Evan. I can assure you that I probably did miss that scene, because I watched this maybe 3 weeks ago, and I don't remember the scenes very well.
Yeah. So you do have the scene mentioned in here, but it's just a little later than where I believe it actually takes place.
Oh, I see how it is. Nitpick, buddy.
I'm just trying to keep it in order as the episode comes along. Sorry.
I'm just teasing. Go ahead.
But it's the scene where Yoda's in that cave with the three clones.
Mm-hmm.
And he has them take their helmets off, and like we just said with the voice actor. Yoda really points out that, yeah, they're clones. They all look alike, their own individual qualities. they all have their own like individual flaws, strengths, all of that. And I think that really goes to kind of set the mood, I guess, on the way we look at the clones in future episodes, to not just look at them as, oh, they're all the same.
Yeah.
I really kind of gives you a mindset of how to approach further on, because like I said before, the clones do have different personalities and different strengths, different weaknesses, different approaches to situations.
Yeah.
And like I said, you do have that mentioned a little further down the notes, but I'm not mistaken, it comes before the note that you were just about to hit on. So if you want to go ahead and...
Well, what one did you think I was about to hit on?
Clankers rollers.
No, actually, I don't recall what that even meant when I wrote it. I think it was nicknames for different types of droids. Rollers probably being droidicas and clankers, I don't know, but either way.
So I saw that note and I was like, oh, he's talking, when the droidicas come rolling up, and they use the rocket launcher, that scene.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was actually gonna just skip that a bit, because I saw that Yoda just cut up that gun in the cave, and then they ended up having this discussion, or this thing, the Jedi are always emphasizing that. It's like, I feel like the clones just overall have this morale issue in a way, like, because they view themselves as expendable, or, kind of like there's that, I don't know, maybe they don't necessarily, but like, they've mentioned it a couple of times. It's like, we're just expendable, what does it matter? And then Yoda in this case is like, no, in the Force, very different each one of you are. And it's like there's constant this like, no, you guys are people. You might be like direct clones, but you still are individuals. And
yeah.
So, but that's what I was going to touch on.
I would agree. I thought you were going somewhere else when you said your next point. Sorry about cutting you off there, but
no, you're fine.
And I would even say, when Yoda, cut that gun and he turns into a crutch.
Yeah.
That's just like ingenuity on his part. I don't think anyone else really would have thought to do that.
Yeah.
I'm sure if there was a different Jedi, they would have been like, oh yeah, we can help him in some way, but I don't think they would have really thought of that.
Right. So looking at, though, you see my note where it says Yoda just cuts up the gun.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the progression of notes all the way to the bottom of the page.
Yeah.
Okay. On that. Just for the listener that does not have access to my notes, which, by the way, we have a Discord server that I post these notes in, and I'll have a description in the, I'll have a link in the description, that's what I mean, of the episode if you guys want to go see that. But I have about quarter of the way till the end of the page, so 3/4 of the way down the page, I have this note where it's like, Yoda just cuts up that gun, what happened? And then we progressed through probably a solid 10 minutes of the show. And then all the way at the end, I said, oh, he used the gun as a crutch. That's what Yoda did with the gun. It took me that long to figure that out. Like, that's kind of why I like looking back at the notes in a way, because I can kind of almost see how my brain was working while I watched it. And especially from the viewpoint of 3 weeks later when I don't remember any of it. So it's kind of neat. But
yeah. But I guess moving along in the episode.
Yeah.
It progresses further. They leave the cave because they notice the droid's getting closer.
Mm-hmm.
And, the 3 clones get posted up on that cliffside. And Yoda tells them, something along the lines of, you'll know the right time, to intervene, to come in to help me. And then Yoda just goes off on, he's got 3 tanks around him, battle droids all around him, and he's just sitting there chill, not worrying about a thing. The droid commander, messages Ventress, oh, we've caught the Jedi Supreme Leader, and it's like, oh, what's he doing? Oh, he's just sitting there. And she freaks out.
Yeah.
She's like, shoot him now.
Yeah.
And again, I guess just with the droid humor, that gets thrown into the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the commander's like, fire! Fire! And
I remember.
Yeah.
And I think it was in our last episode, the coverage of the movie. I made the note. You know, at first I was kind of annoyed and kind of like thrown off by the personality that they gave droids, and like the battle droids and stuff. You know, and I was just like, I don't know why that's annoying to me. But now that I watch it on and on, it's like I'm stupid because R2 and C-3PO had pretty big personalities, and now they're given these ones. That's not a bad thing. It's actually kind of funny. But like, I don't know. I
find it hilarious.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's grown on me. That's what I'm trying to say.
I guess on the practical side and where they're, you know, making the show side, I'm pretty sure that, you know, they kind of add that humor to the droids, because this TV show was made to target a specific audience, you know, like roughly 10, 11, 12 years old, right around there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean,
people will notice as the show goes on, the production of the show and the producers of the show, they kind of kept tailoring it to those same people. They didn't just keep it at like a 10 to 12 age range. Mm-hmm. They kind of made it a little more serious, a little more mature as it progressed, to keep it with that crowd that started it when it first aired.
Yeah, I've noticed that, at least from like, I don't know. I mean, a while back you showed me a couple episodes before we really even were thinking about talking all about this. I think you showed me a couple episodes, and it's definitely different from what I'm watching through now. And I can definitely see that. But anyway, let's see. So, yeah, there's that scene I do remember this part. There's that scene in the ravine, in the cavern, in
the chasm.
That is the word I was looking for. Thank you. But in there where Yoda just goes off on them and he's just ripping them apart. And, you know, the clones are up top and they're just waiting and they're like watching and stuff. And I forget what exactly like makes them realize, hey, there's that ledge right there. Let's shoot at that. Right?
Yeah, so they actually see the droidekas rolling in.
Oh, right.
And one of them makes a comment that, you know, Yoda's too busy with a tank that he's working, like, destroying, that he's not going to see those droidekas until they're right there shooting.
Yeah.
And the one clone that Yoda makes a comment to, not to think in terms of firepower or something like that. It's like, don't think in terms of winning a battle just by use your mind, be creative, come up with a solution that it just doesn't just require you shooting at the droids.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that clone shoots the rocket into the mountainside, cliffside, and, you know, the whole cliffside comes down and just destroys all the droidekas.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, because the clones took him out from dropping the cliff, and little bit later they get to a point, and I don't remember the exact progression, but it's a fight, well, somewhat of a fight, between Yoda and Ventress. Because they start fighting, and he just like did he just use the Force to like rip her lightsabers out of her hands?
Well, so if I remember correctly, Ventress has both of her lightsabers, and she's about to kill the Twadarian king, because so in the beginning of the episode, he makes a comment of hearing that a single Jedi is worth 100 battle droids. And after Yoda, you know, beats all of Ventress's forces, he makes a comment to Ventress, and I believe Count Dooku as well, through, you know, Count Dooku through the hologram things that they have, makes a comment of, like, Jedi is not worth 100 battle droids, more like 1,000. And he says something along the lines of, like, sorry, but I'm going to join the Republic. And then Count Dooku kind of like takes that calm composure, almost like that calm but scary composure, you know, that some people can do.
Oh, kind of like I think you might know what I'm talking about when I just say, "So be it."
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, kind of like that, where it's
yeah.
just like calm but like displeased. But it's like, all right,
Yeah.
fine then. And then you're just kind of like, okay, what's gonna happen then? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And he kind of gets that composure, and he says something. Count Dooku says something along the lines of, hopefully, these talks will go better with your successor. And then he tells Ventress to kill the king, and Ventress goes to swing both of her lightsabers. And, lo and behold, Yoda's there and just uses the Force just casually to stop her lightsabers right before they hit the king.
Oh, right, yeah.
And he's just like, oh, it's nice to finally meet you in person, great king. And just having a quick little, introduction to the king while just, holding Ventress's lightsabers.
Yeah.
And from his face.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm remembering that now. That was a funny scene.
I think he uses a little force push to push Ventress back. And then he just casually uses the Force to rip the lightsabers out of her hands real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Looks at him and just kind of makes the comment, just strong. I think it's just strong in the Force you are, but not strong enough.
Yeah,
or something like that. And he just Force pushes him back to her.
Yeah. He refers to her, though, as Young One. And we talked about that a little while ago, how it is that kind of know your place kind of thing.
Yeah.
In a way. And so I've been kind of seeing that as more of an insult now to them, because they're kind of don't get, whatever. We've had a discussion about that before, but.
Yeah, it's similar to the whole thing with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan in Episode 1.
Right.
My young apprentice thing. It's kind of hey, get the chip off your shoulder. You're not that good. You're not as good as you think you are.
Yeah.
You need to just chill. You're not to say you're not special, but you're not that good.
Right.
More or less.
Yep. Well, yeah. So I think maybe I have it a bit out of order, but there was just that exchange between Yoda and Dooku, and it was just Dooku goes, it's a pity I wasn't there in person, my old master. And then Yoda replies with, a pity indeed, my fallen apprentice. And then it's done.
Yeah.
And then it was now at this point, basically the end of the episode, that I drew the connection that Yoda made a crutch out of that gun. So.
Yeah. If I remember correctly, that exchange between Yoda and Dooku happens, I think it's right after, or I think it's right before. Ventress uses a detonator to distract Yoda so she can escape in her ship.
Oh yeah, yep.
I think it's right. Actually, I think it's right after that because I don't think Ventress is there. They kind of have that little exchange real quick. But then that just draws into the end of that episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yoda goes up to the king afterwards and says, now we can try to talk terms, try to come to an agreement. And the king's just no, I'm convinced we're joining the Republic.
Yep. Yeah.
And, the Republic shows up with some of their cruisers. The gunships come down, pick Yoda up and take him back to the ship. And that's, that's the end of the episode there.
Yep. And then, as they're going away, I can't think of the song. I was going to make a joke. Never mind. Abandon ship. Anyway, episode 2. I can't. Whatever. All right. We're currently sitting at about 35 minutes for that first episode.
Okay. So we could just do 2 of these episodes per episode, probably.
I mean, we could. That's so many episodes.
That gives us 3. If we go all the way through episode 6 on this, Jacob, that gives us 3 episodes.
That's fair. It would give us 3 episodes we can schedule in advance and be smooth sailing for the next 3 weeks. That'd be not a bad thing necessarily.
I would say let's get through episode 4.
Yes.
And see what how time is, because it's almost 1 o'clock here.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not looking to stay up super late. I got a meeting in the morning, so.
Okay, let's get on to episode 2.
Yep, let's go on. Okay. So, this one, there's Starfleet under siege. They're talking about this new separatist weapon. I made the note questioning, is this the Death Star? Because I remember at the end of episode 2, of like Attack of the Clones, like the movies, they had, the hologram of it. They're like,
yeah,
we must hide our new whatever, and that's why I said that. As I watched on, I realized that that's not what it was. But
yeah, well, so episode 2 is titled "Rising Malevolence."
Oh, right, the Malevolence. Of episodes.
And so, just real quick, I guess the Malevolence is a giant battle cruiser for the Separatists, and it's got a special weapon on it that. At this point in the episode, all we know is that that one ship is taking out entire fleets of the Republic cruisers.
Right, and going on a little bit though, like just saying that then there's Skywalker's always ready for a fight. I have that note. I think there was something like some exchange between him and something. But
so with that, it's got Jedi Master Plo Koon.
Mm-hmm.
For those of you that are listening, that's not quite sure who that is. He's the alien-looking Jedi who has got like the respirator on his face.
Yeah.
But he's talking with, I believe it's Commander Wolf, the battalion commander, his battalion's commander. Their codename Wolfpack. I believe that's who he's talking to. But basically, Plo Koon says something along the lines of, we're approaching the Bith system, the last known location of where the superweapon was. We should report back and let at least someone know where we're at before we continue on.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe, I don't remember if it's Wolf or if it's Plo Koon, but someone makes a comment of, General Skywalker's fleet's nearby. Maybe we could ask for reinforcements. And Plo Koon makes a comment there, like you said, I've always heard Skywalker's ready.
Yeah.
They do make contact with Anakin, and he, basically tells him, like, sorry, I can't reinforce you. I've got this mission that the Jedi Council has put me on. I don't have any spare ships to send you.
Oh, right, yeah. But yeah, in that somewhere, I think they're like approaching this ship, and that weapon is either put to test or not to test, but put into action to where somehow we see that it wasn't the Death Star like I originally thought, because I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
But it was rather a ginormous ion cannon that was basically a giant EMP.
Yeah.
It just disables all electronics as it hits and goes across their ships, then making them useless and wiping out entire fleets. Holy cow. Fleets, like you said, because then they're defenseless and they can just be destroyed.
And the big thing with that is ion weapons in the Star Wars universe, energy shields don't stop ion weapons. So, like, your battle cruisers in the Clone Wars would have maybe 1 or 2 ion cannons on them because they required a lot of power. And that was kind of like their bunker buster for people who know what that is. But for those that don't, it's basically like a bomb or a missile that burrows down into the earth before it explodes. It's kind of the same thing. These ion weapons go through the shield and hit the ship, whereas other types of weaponry would not pierce the shield.
Yeah.
And so this being a giant ion weapon means that, the Republic is just screwed unless they can find a way to take it out. Like, they can't just approach that ship like they would any other separatist ship.
Yeah. And so Plo Koon and his other the clones that are with him are hit by that ion cannon, and they're just kind of stuck. And then the ship starts sending out hunter droids to go in, and they're exterminating survivors. We saw it as one. They broke the glass, and the clones inside were just they died.
Just sucked out into space. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they're going along, and that's going on.
For those who are not sure, because I know I guess those that have seen all the way through this already, the clone in the escape pod with Master Plo Koon, that's not in the typical clone armor, the one that's in kind of like that officer uniform, the gray uniform.
Oh yeah,
that is Commander Wolf.
Gotcha.
And this is something that you wouldn't know unless you read through some of the books or looked on. Basically, clone commanders kind of go through different roles, I guess. So, like, at some point, they'll be in the normal clone armor fighting on the front line. And then sometimes they get rotated out and put into a more just command position than command on the battlefield, where they do on, like, a cruiser, which was what Commander Wolf was. He was in the middle of that at that point. He was in the middle of that phase of his career, I guess, when this took place. But yeah, so that specific clone is Commander Wolf, for those that are not, who did not know beforehand.
Yeah. So the next thing I've got is that there was, I think it was Anakin and Ahsoka, and they're dealing with something to where Ahsoka spoke up and like kind of voiced her opinion, kind of stepping out of that place that has kind of been set.
Yeah. So
yeah,
basically, Anakin and Ahsoka had not heard anything from Plo Koon's fleet, and basically Anakin was asking permission to send out a rescue party or a scout to see what happened to them. And the Jedi Council said no. We need you there to, we need all your ships there to protect the transports that are going and transporting supplies and all that kind of stuff. And, Ahsoka spoke up saying, there might be survivors. We don't know what happened. We should do something.
Yeah.
And, obviously Anakin jumps on her right then and there, like basically telling her to shut up. This is not the time. And then he does mention a little later on that when she spoke up, it wasn't that she spoke up, it's how she went about speaking up. So, like, the Jedi are not against, their Padawans speaking up and, making a suggestion and whatnot. As long as they take the right approach, show respect, they need to basically know their place.
Yeah. So it can be rather, instead of, in her case, it was kind of like a command, like, we need to do this, versus like, why don't we try this? It's kind of like more of the command approach would kind of be more of like a authority kind of persona put on,
Yeah, it's kind of like, I'm trying to think, I just had it in my head. It's kind of like I'm trying to think here, drawing a blank now.
No, you're fine, man, if you don't.
How was I going to say it? Like not so much right place, right time. It's like, I guess more of along the lines of asking for forgiveness, not permission, to Anakin at least. Because, like, as we see in the episode, he goes anyways. But to him, it's more of like, I'm willing to do this. I'm still following the Jedi's, the Master's orders. My fleet's still protecting them. Basically what you suggested is for us to send a fleet out to go search for Master Plo, whereas you should be thinking not the direct approach. You should be thinking of kind of ways to work around the rules instead of breaking the rules.
Yeah, and that was kind of like, I think I made the note, which I now disagree with. I don't think that it was necessarily Anakin's commitment issue to the Jedi Order necessarily. Though I do kind of think he has a bit of that. He's not fully on board. Like we talked a little bit, but whatever. That's not entirely. Yeah. Regardless.
Well, and sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. I was just saying that, like, you know, we talked about that, but he's not so much going against an order given, but he's more so like taking that order and then finding a bit of wiggle room and then utilizing that.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to say. As we see later on in this episode, he even kind of tells Ahsoka the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, basically saying, like, these are your orders. Find a way to do what you're trying to do while staying within your orders. Find that wiggle room. Find that small, I guess, like, that loophole in the system.
Yeah.
Type of thing. And as I said before, when Ahsoka just kind of spoke up, she was just basically saying the same thing Anakin said, which was already shot down, where as Anakin suggested it,
mm-hmm.
Ahsoka just came out and said, we should send a rescue team. You know, there might be survivors. Whereas Anakin was like, you know, hey, I was wondering if we could, you know, send out a rescue team. There's potentially survivors. Maybe they're okay, but would it be okay if we sent a rescue team?
Yeah.
Whereas Ahsoka was just like, we need to, you know?
Right, yeah. It's a little more demanding.
Yeah.
It was somewhere around here, too, that it went to a droid, and he might have been manning the station, like, watching over the hunters or something, but he was humming the Imperial March. Do you notice that? You recall that?
Yeah.
I thought that was hilarious.
I I think it's the pilot droid for one of the hunter crews.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
That were sent out. I think he's the one doing those humming it, 'cause he's just, like, kind of lazily going along, kind of scanning for pods, just humming the tune.
Yeah, that was funny.
But
so here's a question though. Okay, so Plo Koon, okay, the hunter finds them. You know, he's coming up on them. They're, you know, whatever, they need to fight him off, and he goes outside and fights them. And my question was, he's a Jedi. He's able to use the Force, and he was able to earlier. Why couldn't he have just, like, pushed them away or something, kind of like Yoda? And I know this is comparing him to Yoda, and Yoda's highly trained and, you know, and Force sensitive, all that stuff. So there might be a difference there. But, like, why couldn't he kind of fight him off in a way from within the cockpit? Like, there's a bunch of debris around. He could have pushed him into it or something. I don't know.
I honestly, well, because when you see him go out there and fight, he's more in front of the two clones so that they go out there with him. Mm-hmm. I think it's more so of, like, he's out there to give them cover while they shoot, and kind of distract the droids that are shooting back while his troopers take out the droids. I think it's more of he's playing that defensive role.
I guess.
For his troopers while they're playing the off.
I guess, but, like, I don't know.
And as we see a little later in that scene, you know, as the pod hunter starts crushing the pod that they're on,
mm-hmm.
you know, he cuts the arms of the pod hunter and pushes it away then into some debris.
Right. But, like, I guess my thing was I wasn't understanding why, like, he had to go outside and, like, they had to go all that when they were safe on the inside. Well, they weren't safe for long, but they were on the inside, you know, and I couldn't just maybe do something from there. I don't know, but it's whatever he did. And it's a TV show in the end. But
I will say, even in the TV show and in the movies, the Jedi really don't take the, you know, use the Force first approach.
That's
in a lot of fights or scenes or whatever they're doing. They typically try to go with, you know, that persuade or using their lightsaber before they resort to the Force.
That's true.
And also, I think another reason that he went out there as well with the other two clones, I believe it's mentioned earlier on once they're in the pod, that their life support system in the pod is damaged, so it's not taking their carbon dioxide and turning it back into oxygen.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if all four of them are still in the pod, they're going to be running through faster than if they just have Commander Wolf in the pod who does not have a suit on.
Right.
So I think that definitely had something to do with it as well.
And then again, and I was talking about this in the when we were covering episode 1 of this, you know, the whole thing where the clones view themselves as expendable. They said that we are just clones. We are meant to be expendable. And Plo, you know, assures them and values their life, you know, in that individual emphasis and stuff about, you know, just that you guys matter. And it's like, you know, I just, also, okay. This is something I noticed later on, but right now I'm just thinking of it because I was like trying to think of, you know, this happens a lot. And then I was thinking something else happens a lot. A lot of the episodes so far, if not all of them, but I definitely know of 3, have always said, I've got a bad feeling about this. Does that continue? Like, I just feel like sometimes it's a stretch. Is that like a thing they do in every single episode?
I don't notice it in every episode, but I guess I really don't listen for it. Okay.
Well, of the first 6 that I've listened to or watched, I've pointed out 3. So I'm kind of like, it's going to be like a thing where you say it each episode or something. I don't know. But either way.
Yeah. So they destroyed the Pod Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at that time, one of the droids reports to General Grievous that, you know, they lost contact with one of their Pod Hunters. General Grievous orders the ship to kind of, you know, take another pass around and look, kind of, I guess, figure out what happened to that Pod Hunter. And at that time, Anakin and Ahsoka show up in the Twilight, which is the ship that they're in.
Yep.
And they, you know, they rescue Plo Koon and the 3 clones. And I think it's a kind of cool little scene where, you know, Plo Koon tells them to shut down all the systems as the ship's coming back around, and they forget about the medical droid in the back looking after Commander Wolf.
Yep.
And, you know, he comes out and he's like, "Is there something the matter?" And they're like, "We forgot about the medical droid."
Yeah. That was funny.
I always thought that was kind of funny. And, you know, obviously Plo Koon's like in a kind of like, "Oh crap, you know, we got to get out of here." And he's like, "Turn all the systems back on quick, get us out of here."
Yeah.
And I think it has that really cool scene where, you know, they fire the super weapon. General Grievous has it fired again, and it's showing Anakin just showing off his piloting skills as he's trying to get out of the debris field.
Yeah.
I always thought that was a really cool scene. How he's just, you know, like ducking and bobbing, flipping, and, you know, just avoiding all the debris while trying to get out of there as fast as he can.
Right.
But I always thought that was a really cool scene.
Yeah. One of many in the show so far.
You know, and then, you know, eventually they get out of the debris field and they go into light speed and hightail it out of there.
Yeah.
And that's right there towards the end of the episode too. You know, and then it cuts back to General Grievous and Count Dooku on the Malevolent.
Right.
And, you know, General Grievous does that like almost yell, I guess, of like whenever he fails, because he fails all the freaking time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's bad. Yeah.
He just does that yell and turns to Count Dooku, and, you know, Count Dooku makes the comment, you know, like, and again, that composed but like I'm pissed off kind of demeanor that he gets.
Yeah.
And, you know, he makes the comment like, "Your failure is most unfortunate, General."
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, you know, something I've noticed, and that's pretty well the end of episode 2 there, but something that I've noticed with General Grievous, and, you know, he wasn't like a minor character in episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, but it's like, okay, he's a general, why, I guess, and like, now you're seeing like the battle tactics and everything that's going in it, and the leadership behind it, and the attempts at swaying different votes and stuff like that by the separatists, and then the fights, you know, all that stuff. And you get to see a little bit better of more of a picture of who Grievous is. And he is, he's the general of all this, not like the great low rate you can get online, that crap. Not that general, but like, but he's a general of these fleets and this army. Man, he kind of sucks at it, doesn't he? Like, he's not that good. like Marcel was just like, yeah, man, I watched the first 6 episodes and all I'm seeing is Grievous failing all the time. I just thought he was joking, but like I'm watching, I'm like, oh my god, dude, he's failing a lot. And like, I don't know.
Yeah, and I've made the comment before, in this TV show, they make General Grievous just like a failure and a wuss. Whereas in the old, the old cartoon, the 2003 version, General Grievous is a badass.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
He's cutting through clones, cutting through Jedi like it's nothing.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. He was,
Yeah.
But,
and honestly, though, with this whole war going on, and again, a lot of people don't know this, General Grievous's aim is not winning the war. That's not his goal here. His goal is just to kill as many Jedi as he can. Because before he became General Grievous, Cyborg, he was a warlord of his race. He was of his race, and Jedi showed up and actually basically killed off his entire clan because they kept raiding and raping, pillaging, villages and what. And so, like, he has a deep hatred for Jedi, and that's really his main. That's his overall goal.
Yeah, just
throughout
to kill
the whole
Jedi.
Clone Wars. That's the reason he joined the Separatists, so he could kill Jedi.
Huh.
So, I mean, whereas he'll go and be a general, Sully, and he'll obviously try and win. If he doesn't win, it's not a huge deal to him.
Mm-hmm.
Again, because he's just there to kill Jedi.
That's fair. Well, so here's a quick question. We finished up episode 2. We are at an hour, pretty well exactly. I was wondering if you want to wrap up this one and start a new recording for 3 and 4, and probably end with that for the night. But just kind of depending. Do you want to wrap this one up and kind of do a little outro before starting again?
So I really don't want to be up for another hour.
All right, we can. We can just wrap it up.
I mean, if you want,
for now, no.
I would totally be down for doing 3, 4, even 5 and 6 tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll touch up the last couple minutes there as we're talking about this. But yeah, we can close out this episode and be good for tonight.
Okay.
So, I guess resuming at here in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, that kind of, wraps up our coverage of, just episodes 1 and 2 of the Clone Wars. We'll try to keep our episodes at an hour, and however many, episodes we get through in that amount of time. I guess that's how many we cover per episode, but right now it's looking like maybe just 2 per episode. But thank you for listening in on our discussion on those first 2. Evan, do you have any closing comments?
I guess just stay tuned for our discussion of episodes 3 and 4 to finish out on the Malevolent storyline. We'll try and get those out as soon as possible for you guys.
Yeah. And just revisiting though the initial announcement in the beginning of this episode, just that whole 1,000 download goal, and milestone celebration thing that we're talking about doing. I think that it'd be nice to try to set like milestone kind of goals where we do something kind of more special when we reach a certain amount. And that being said, your guys's you listening and downloading the episodes is of great help. But if you have any friends that are at all interested in Star Wars, share with them. Try to expand amongst your friend group, or whatever to, kind of help us out. And then we can reach those milestones quicker and get you guys more things, quicker, whether it be bloopers or live streams and Q&As and, stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah.
And I guess, just a quick reminder that 1,000 download marker is going to be that release of a blooper reel.
Yep.
And then if you guys are interested, again, like I said, make sure you comment in these episodes for us. Let us know if you guys are interested in like a live stream discussion where you guys can chime in and ask questions. Let us know. So
exactly. But as always, thank you for listening, and you'll hear from us next time. But
peace.
Deuces.